Lost Ollie Ending Explained. This mini-series was focused around the quest of a soft toy bunny called Ollie, embarking on a journey with the intentions of ending up back home with his owner and best friend Billy, after awaking in a thrift shop with no memory of how he got there. This series tackled hard subjects such as grief, loneliness, and had extremely dark undertones. I thought I'd recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from this mini-series, especially the ending. So let's get into it. Here is Lost Ollie Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The majority of the 4 episodes in the series were focused on Ollie trying to retrace his memories and work out how exactly he ended up in the thrift shop where he was at the start. He was friendly with Zozo, who was the toy clown, and Rosy, who was Zozo's friend who set off on a mission to find Zozo after being separated. Piece by piece, we started seeing flashbacks of Ollie's mind, which allowed him to put together a map and a direction to head in order to end up back with his best friend Billy. The flashbacks were the part that nailed down the narrative of the story, and the scenes with Ollie were the ones that I feel held a lot of the emotional weight to them. It was revealed to us that Billy's mother was terminally ill and was dying, and that was the main piece of the narrative and emotional pull. This whole series was focused on grief, loss, and the multiple different ways that people can handle it. This was key to the flashbacks as it connected both Ollie and Billy together. We had Billy who had lost his mother, and we saw that he felt that he needed to grow up based on what his father said to him, the bully at school said, and also the general response he was getting from others. Hence that when we found out how Ollie got lost, by the bully throwing him out the school door and Ollie deciding to leave him due to not wanting to be perceived as a baby anymore, it made sense. The treacherous journey that Billy embarked on was not only that of being able to find his best friend, but was that of the journey one goes through when they're lost and they need to find themselves again after going through a traumatic experience. We had the song All I Have to Do Is Dream as a main motif in the series, and it felt extremely appropriate. We had multiple dreams taking place. In the past timeline of Billy wanting everything to be okay, Ollie in the sense that he was now dreaming of being back home, and Zozo in the sense that he wanted to be with Nina. But we'll get to that. Once Ollie did manage to find his way home, it was revealed to us that the house was now boarded up, and it looked as though it hadn't been lived in for some time. I thought this might have been the case, as in the scenes in the hospital in the flashbacks, the wall that had the mural of Sleeping Beauty looked fresh. But then when Ollie arrived at the hospital as part of his journey, it looked slightly damaged and like the paint had cracked, showing that some significant time would have passed. We also had the revelation about Nina once Ollie got into the house as well. Nina, the doll that Zozo was in love with from his days back in Dreamland, was bought by none other than Billy's mother when she was younger. We saw this by the photo that was on the wall and the flashback that occurred in episode 3. I also thought that this was going to be the case earlier on than when it was revealed, due to the fact that Ollie had the bell inside of him. The beauty of Ollie having the bell inside of him was that it served the purpose of a real heart. The bell was once on Nina, and the doll was loved by Billy's mother throughout her whole life, to the point where it just got damaged and was used a lot. It received so much love, so that when it was put within Ollie, it genuinely acted as one, because a part of Nina that was full of love was now within him. We saw a twist halfway through the series where Zozo turned out to be slightly chaotic, to the point where he held Ollie hostage, and wasn't prepared to let him go unless he told him about Nina, who at the time he knew nothing about. Zozo recognized the sound of the bell inside of Ollie when he first entered the thrift store, and it turned out that he'd been using him throughout the entirety of the journey to find out information. This allowed us to set off on a journey back in time in episode 3 of the show, where we got to see the Dreamland Park in 1965, where it was once full of life, again symbolizing life and death when compared to 1970 when it was derelict. This was a time where Zozo was a part of it. He was a clown that had to be hit with a ball in order to win a prize. He never had legs, and it turned out that this was where he got his impressive skills in mending things, due to the fact that he had to sew his own legs on. Zozo and Nina first encountered each other in 1965, as they were opposite each other's stalls, and it lasted for all of 5 years, when Nina was then auctioned off due to the fact that the theme park was closing down. This was when we saw her get passed over to Billy's mother when she was younger. This led Zozo on a journey of searching, just like we saw Ollie doing. Zozo started searching as one would, filled with sadness and despair, until it took a turn, and darkness, anger and rage started taking over, where he would then take all of his anger out on other toys that he would encounter, showing the other side to grief. This led him to the thrift store where he sat in decay for many years, where we then saw the journey pieced together perfectly into the moment that Ollie first entered, with the sound of the bell. Zozo showed the other side to grief, and the side that Billy's mother mentioned not to be like. To understand that you can be sad, but don't grow bitter. You can be mad, but not with each other. And just because you lose somebody, it doesn't mean that they're gone. Zozo exhibited the behavior of being bitter towards others, and was mad with others around him, to the point where he was torturing Ollie and was prepared to lose his friendship that he once valued with Rosy. This was in order to be mad about somebody that he lost, rather than appreciating the good times, as Billy's mother said, even to the point where he ripped the bell out of Ollie as he was over him. But we saw Rosy come back and defeat Zozo. She had an arc of redemption in the sense that she started off as the rude one, but instead put her pirate sword through him, showing that the neglect and bitterness that he showed her was what ultimately defeated him. This led a now heartless Ollie to be laying in a puddle, and in that moment was dead as he wasn't moving. In the closing moments of the episode, we saw that Billy returned to the house and picked up Ollie after finding him in the puddle where he was left. We saw that Billy was now older and had his own child who he gave to Ollie after mending him up, finding him, and most importantly, putting the bell back inside of him. It turned out that the little girl who Ollie spoke with at the start of the episode who entered the shop was the very person who was Billy's daughter. Knowing that they were so close before Ollie's quest to get home even started was something that made the weight of the reunion even more powerful. He was now able to live a life, reunited with his best friend, and now home, but spending the majority of his newfound time leading a new life with his daughter. This series tackled death in a way that evoked emotions that I didn't expect at all. It showed the sides to grief that were delivered by the characters perfectly. The use of songs and music in this series really tied into the mood and tone of the show, whilst complementing the scenes. The story that was set that was focused on Billy and his father was one that I also found extremely compelling. The journey of a father and son who had both lost somebody that they loved and cared about, and they needed to now be there for each other, but were both too afraid to speak to each other and were lost, was a story that was completed by them finally opening up and not being afraid to be sad. It showed the harsh reality of life, and that there are different ways that you can approach it that can either hold you back and allow you to be consumed by the darkness that's so easy to take over, like what happened with Zozo, or you can move forward, grow and develop, and look back on the things that happened in the quest to reunite, just like Ollie. It was a beautiful piece that I would most certainly recommend watching. So, there you have it. Lost Ollie Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos such as Endings Explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you want to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of Lost Ollie? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.